Hello, and welcome to our lunchtime chat today. Do you remember when co washing was recommended for textured hair types and everyone swore that it made their hair grow? And if you don't know what co washing is, just keep on watching. But there are many trends that have no merit, but consumers, they stay confused, and we have to discuss that. Today, we're going to dive in to clarify what you should know about your cleansing routine. My name is Dr. Crystal Porter, and I'm a hair scientist and owner of Main Insights, a company that conducts research and focuses on the hair needs of people from African descent. This platform is designed to elevate the Black hair care industry and empower consumers and hair practitioners with education that is driven and backed by scientific research. Before we get started, I'd love to know who is out there with me this morning. Let me know by putting a number in the chat. If you are a practitioner, put the number one. If you are a consumer, put the number two. And if you are a researcher or scientist just like me, put the number three in the chat. Also, please like and share this broadcast. If you are frustrated with the lack of information available to you when it comes to caring for your hair, and you've wasted a lot of time, money, and resources just trying to figure things out on your own, you are at the right place. And that is why we have created the Our Black Hair Matters movement. Now, I have put together a very valuable resource called the three biggest mistakes to avoid when caring for your curly hair. You should go to www.ourblackhairmatters.com, and you should see the ticker below. Also, if you have a pressing concern and need to have a conversation with one of our team members, they are standing by. Actually, you're going to meet them in a few minutes. And you can schedule a free consultation by going to what is up there on the screen right now. And it is bit.ly/OBHM consult. All right, it is time to get to it. It's an honor for me to have my team, or should I say, the Voices of Trichology, join me today to answer common questions when it comes to properly cleansing your hair and scalp. Not only do these practitioners use their own education and years of experience to provide premium services, they actually know the difference between regurgitating baseless statements and relaying information that is supported with data. So let's have them join. Yes, this is the Voices of Trichology. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. C.
Yeah, of course. Now, I want to
Thank you.
pull up your bio and give just a little snippet of who you are so that people can know, your background. I'm very proud of each and every one of you. So we have Donisha Sullivan. She is a certified trichologist with over 18 years of service providing hair loss prevention and restoration for men and women who suffer from alopecia or hair loss. Donisha is licensed in the state of Georgia and North Carolina as a master cosmetologist, currently owning a hair and scalp treatment center in Augusta, Georgia. She also provides non-surgical hair replacement services. Then we have Marvelette Bailey. She is known as a pillar in the beauty industry, and she has over 30 years of experience backed with in-depth training, licensure, and certifications. Marvelette continued her education and training in the paramedical and science fields, becoming a trichology health care practitioner and biomedical research assistant. And then Dana Wilson, she is also a certified trichologist and she is a master trainer of sister locks. She is a city certified research assistant, certified code capper, a veteran, and mother of a son on the autism spectrum. She is the director of Hair Cares Inc. and began her own Sister Locks journey in 2000. She took her initial Sister Locks consultant training course in September 2000 and shortly after became certified. Thank you. Really appreciate you ladies joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I, of course, want to jump right on in it because you guys have a wealth of experience. And I know you've seen a lot of mistakes when it comes to help. Well, when people come to you and you look at their scalp and you hear their complaints, I'd like to know, what do you think is the number one or biggest mistake that you've observed when it comes to people cleansing their own hair? Let's start with Donisha.
Okay. Well, I have noticed, excuse me, that a lot of times people just don't know, or individuals just don't know how often they should shampoo their hair and cleanse their scalp. A lot of times there's a lot of old remedies or um, old, things that we were told or taught years ago that's just not true information, and it's not relevant now. So I see a lot of people that go weeks and weeks without cleansing their hair or cleansing their scalp, and it's causing a big issue. Yeah.
Mm. So you're saying the length of time that it takes between cleansing.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, Marvelette, what would you say is the frequency that we should be cleansing our hair?
It depends on what you have going on with your hair, but I would say between 1 to 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of people who have like hair extensions or wear their hair in braids, say cornrows, they want their style to last longer. So how do you manage cleansing your hair if you have your hair in those styles?
Well, there's different types of cleansing methods, but I still stand. My professional opinion is you should still shampoo. And if you worried about protecting the style, I would say 2 weeks. I would not exceed that because while you're protecting your style, you're disrupting your hair, a healthy hair environment, and your hair.
Okay. And so, Dana, you are a loctician, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of, I don't want to say special cases, but I think, especially when it comes to wearing locks, a lot of women feel they want to keep that style looking nice, especially after they've gotten it. Um, and I don't know the proper term. I want to say retwisted, but I know you're gonna fix what I just said and make it right. But what's different about locks? I mean, is there like a special shampoo or how does that work?
So first, let me just say I agree with both Danisha and Marvelette. There is a lot of myths out there in regards to how frequent you should cleanse your scalp and shampoo your hair. We used to be in the era where people thought that their hair grew faster when it was dirty. So they wait a long time. I don't know where that came from, but that's not true. And I definitely agree with Marvelette. No more than 2 weeks without cleansing your scalp. Now, in regards to locks, the cleansing is different depending on what phase you're in the locking process. So, for example, if you have baby locks, you're just getting started, you don't want to put anything in your hair that will soften the hair. You don't want a lot of oil in it. You want the cuticle rough and free, free of oils and conditioners and moisturizers because you want the hair to marry one another. Now, once those locks have matured, then that's different. You can go into softening the hair and moisturizing the hair because you don't want it to feel rough or brittle. But it really just depends on where you are in the locking process on how and what product you should be using.
Wow.
Hmm.
So that's kind of counterintuitive because, us curly girls want our hair to be soft and quote
Right.
unquote moisturized all the
Mm.
time. And so it's
Yeah.
some unique things to consider when you have locks. Well,
Right.
you and I are going to have to get back together and talk about that in depth
Right.
because I'm sure there's a lot to consider.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful style. And I know a lot of people who have problems wear their hair in locks. So, yeah, it's a lot of unique information that we
Hmm.
need to dive into at a later time. But speaking of the type of shampoos or how your hair should be,
Mhm.
depending upon how you style your hair. Let's dive into that a little bit deeper because I know that the type of shampoos that I wear when I wear my hair down and straight isn't necessarily what I would, how I want my hair to feel when I wear my hair like in this curly style here. So, can you give information about, is there a preference for, from your professional viewpoint, is there a particular type of shampoo that you could use for a particular type of style? And so you hit on it a little bit, Dana, with locks, but I'm wondering, Donisha, is there something that you would recommend for a particular style?
I would. So there has been studies to show how the zinc perithione, if I pronounce that correctly, how it helps with seborrheic dermatitis or dandruff or scalp conditions. So you would definitely want to use a product that is going to help address the style that you want and also the care of your hair. So I would definitely suggest, if you want something more moisturizing than those styles that you want the moisture in, which is the curly style, you would use a product that has the moisturizing effects. Or if you need something that is not as heavy and a lighter weight so that you can wear your hair in a flowy style, then that's perfectly okay to change shampoos to get those results that you're looking for.
Okay. So you were talking about zinc perithione, which is, you said it properly,
Okay.
and that is an active that is in shampoos for seborrheic dermatitis or dandruff. And so what I find is those types of shampoos are great for the scalp. Well, at times. So it depends on the person, whether, how effective it is. But when you have those specialty shampoos, especially for scalp issues such as dandruff or seborrheic dermatitis, and for those of you who don't know what seborrheic dermatitis is, it presents itself as flaking. Sometimes your scalp can, or it's like sheets of scaliness on the scalp, and it kind of lifts off the scalp. And I know I'm very intimate with it because that is something that I have to control with those specialty shampoos. So I get it. But they're great for my scalp, but not necessarily good for my hair. So, Marvelette, can you give me some, tips in terms of how do I take care of my scalp issues while at the same time making sure that my hair doesn't feel like Brillo?
So from my personal experience, when I use those type of shampoos for clients, I try to concentrate just on the scalp with them, although it's going to overlap on the hair. So I would call those a first lather. And then I would go in with a second shampoo to soften it up a bit. But the main thing I like to soften up with is with the conditioners. Because shampoo is meant to cleanse the scalp and the hair, not necessarily to soften it. So I like to go back in with my different types of conditioners to make the hair feel softer and more manageable.
Mhm.
But I would use a second shampoo as well after you
Mhm.
use the treatment shampoo.
Mhm.
I'm glad you said that. That isn't a strategy that I've used. And I have to think about that because I use very expensive conditioners. So let me ask you this. Do you think I can get away with a cheaper conditioner when applying that strategy? Or do I have to use my super expensive conditioner?
It depends on which conditioner you're using. A lot of the cheaper, I'm gonna go back to Balsam. I'm gonna go all the way back to beauty school. Balsam really softens the hair really, really well. So you can use that and then go back in with your expensive conditioner
Okay.
because it's gonna soften the hair.
Okay. Yeah. And as you're talking, I can see how a conditioner, any conditioner would help after that stripping shampoo with that targeted ingredient. Yeah. So okay, cool. Awesome. Now when I opened up, I talked about co-washing. And so with you saying that you follow up the shampoo with a conditioner, let's talk a little bit about co-washing. So Dana, can you talk about, is that something that you would recommend for locks ever?
Well, so it's all about the phase that you're in with the locking process. Truly, you'll probably hear me say that 20 times because people come in there at different phases, and the phases will dictate what you need to do. Just to follow up with Marvelette in regards to using different shampoos for your condition, we always say in the lock with locticians, depending on the method, also is a factor. The method in which you're locking your hair. So if you're doing an interlocking, right? Those shampoos sometimes that works on the scalp will interrupt the locking process. So we always recommend you use that directly onto the scalp, and then you use another shampoo on the actual locks so that you can minimize the interruption of the locking process. So it really just depends on where you're at in the process on what we're going to recommend to you.
So, Donisha, can you talk about what co-washing actually is? Because I think we use the term, I mean, we're in the industry, so we know exactly what it is, but some listeners may not know what that is. So can you explain that?
Okay, so co-washing is a product that has been designed to be a shampoo and conditioner in one. So sometimes you'll see they'll have 2-in-1s, 5-in-1s, 8-in-1s. There's different types of co-washing product. And so what the individual would do is actually use that product as a shampoo and conditioner and apply it to the hair as a shampoo. A lot of times they don't lather as much as a regular shampoo would. However, it's designed to give the hair the slippage that it needs, along with some cleansing factors. So that's what cold washing is applying one product to do two jobs. And in my experience, it's not as effective for cleansing because the properties that are required to actually cleanse the hair is not as I guess I would say potent as or the properties are not there to do the cleansing and conditioning. So and in my experience, it's better to have a cleanser to cleanse the hair and the scalp, and then apply the conditioner of your choice as was mentioned, in order to get that feel and that look that you desire. Now, I have noticed though, in some cases, co-washing can be a good idea. Like for instance, if you are going to the pool or you're out in the sun all day and you're really, really sweaty and you just want something to just give to get the sweat and the oil off the hair, to give you a quick solution to, instead of going through the whole shampoo process, almost like a patch in between, that's okay. But I wouldn't definitely not recommend co-washing on a regular basis in lieu of shampooing and conditioning. I have not found that to be effective.
Yeah, I think when you talk about nomenclature, I think it's all over the place. I think people have a lot of their own definitions. And so I've heard co-washing even being referred to as just using conditioner.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, wow, I mean, you can't cleanse the hair with the way that it's formulated. You just can't cleanse the hair properly that way. So yeah, it's awesome that amazing, I should
I
say. It's
guess the
amazing.
co-washing could be for someone who really really don't have a regimen. I know it's hard for them to be on a regimen to shampoo their hair. I guess like Donisha said, a quick fix scenario for someone that that might be beneficial for them.
Yeah. I think like the 2-in-1s, for example, when you have those, like a lot of men love the two in
Okay.
ones
Yeah.
because especially if they wear their hair short
Right.
They want the benefit of a conditioner, but a lot of men don't take the time that we take as women. Sometimes there are some men out there who take their time and they like to primp themselves, but a lot of times they're like, I just need to do this real quick.
Right.
Yeah, so um, let's talk about conditioning a little bit. We're talking about the cleansing routine, and we talked about the conditioning process. And sometimes I've heard stories of people leaving conditioner on their hair like overnight or all day. And so I'd like to know your experience. Marvelette, can you talk a little bit about the length of time that you leave a conditioner on your hair?
Yes. So you should not, of course, you always follow manufacturer's directions because different conditions have different time links on them. But I would have to say a maximum of 30 minutes because conditioning, you can over condition your hair and cause hair issues too, because you can over soften it and it'll come off like almost like tissue paper. It'll shed. So you can cause problems, and also you can clog your hair follicles. It's so many things that can go wrong depending on the type of conditioner that you're using if you leave it in too long. I long time ago I was guilty of that because when I wore my natural curls, conditioner seems to conditioner that you're supposed to rinse out seems to hold my curls better. But that was before I knew better. I was younger, and I definitely don't do that now because it can cause long-term problems.
Yeah. Have you seen anything, Dana?
Yeah. So for locks, putting conditioner on and leaving it on for a very long time, that is actually a technique for taking locks out. So that's what people do when they don't want their locks anymore. They put conditioner on it and they let it sit for a long time, and then it softens the locks in such a way that then they can start combing and picking them out. But it's not obviously recommended to do all the time. That's just a technique or solutions to soften the locks to take them out. So,
Wow. You have any experiences, Donisha?
I agree with everybody that conditioner definitely, well, just conditioners should not be left on the hair for extended amount of time. Some should not have heat applied to them. And so you definitely want to follow the manufacturer's instructions and not leave it in the hair because it can definitely create more of a problem than help. So I agree.
Well, good. So I want to talk about the end result a little bit more. I think I mentioned this before, but so personally speaking, when I have applied different types of conditioners to my hair, depending upon how I wear it, I'll get different results. So it's not only with shampoos, but also with conditioners. So even though I have a tight curl, I have, I'll say, high porosity, meaning that my hair will hold a lot. So if I have a conditioner, it's easy for me to quote unquote over condition, because what that means is that it's going to be what we call in industry substantive. And that means that the conditioner or the ingredients of the conditioner that's meant to coat the hair is going to weigh my hair down. So if I want to wear it straight, it's going to like be clumpy and not as light and carefree as I would want it if I wear my hair straight. But at the same time, I think we curly girls think that we always need to hydrate. And I think they use hydrate and conditioning interchangeably. But anyway, when I say that, we want the hair to feel soft, right? So can you tell me like examples of when or how you choose a particular conditioner for a particular hair type or style? And you don't have to name brands, but I'm just curious about in terms of how your hair feels for a particular style, especially if you use heat. For example, when that brand that was like really hot for a while. I mean, everybody was talking about co-washing with Win products. And I think that one of the mistakes, and I mentioned this earlier on a previous lunchtime chat, that with Win products, it did coat the hair a lot, and people were doing the same routine that they would normally do, like in wearing their hair straight. And I think when you wear your hair in a natural style like I have now, I use very heavy conditioners. But if I were to straighten my hair, I wouldn't use the same one. So can you talk about that a little bit, Marvelette?
You said a whole lot, so I was trying to follow.
Yeah.
I'm like stuck. You said so much. I'm confused on what I'm answering.
So, okay, you have a lot of conditioners, right? You just don't have one conditioner that you use on your clients, right?
Right.
So what determines the conditioner that you use?
Okay, so it depends on the hair type, it depends on the hair health, and it depends on the styling choice. So you can't just say 1, 2, 3. It's not that simple. It just depends. It's a lot of variables to consider.
Yeah. And so say I have hair that is not porous, but I want to, so in other words, it's not going to adhere to the hair, or I want to have my hair in braids.
Okay.
What type of conditioner, if I don't have porous hair and I want to wear braids, would you recommend?
I would use a heavier conditioner because are you wearing your natural hair in braids or are you adding hair? That's another factor.
Let's talk about both.
Okay. So if you're adding hair, commercially integrating hair into your braids, I would definitely use a heavier conditioner with moisture, because a lot of times the hair that you're adding is going to strip the moisture from your natural hair. And then on the other hand, if you're getting your own hair braided, I would use something kind of in the middle, not as heavy, because you don't want to make it so slippy and so moist that the braids don't hold and they free as quick. But you want to have enough conditioner so that your hair is properly hydrated and moisturized. So when you pull it in attention, you won't disrupt the hair follicle. The hair strands.
It's interesting that you're talking through this, because a lot of times people want this information. They're like, oh my gosh, but they don't know what a medium conditioner is. But that's one of the reasons why I think it's extremely important for people to have a practitioner that they can even talk to, someone who knows their hair, to actually get them on the right foot. Because I know that there is a tendency for us to want to save money or think that we know it all, or look at YouTube videos and think that we can know what's good for our hair in particular. But you're absolutely right. I think that from my experience, I have to change it up. And so that's also one of the reasons why we have 50 million products in our cabinet and under our sink, because it's just, we want variety for all the different ways that we wear our hair.
And just to add to that, that's why it's important to do a consultation. And when the first time you meet a client, you definitely need to only do a shampoo service. And I say that because water usually tells a story. That way you know how their hair handles certain things and what the hair has been through. And then with the question, when you ask them questions about the hair, they can tell you different things, like how the hair responds to different things in their experience, because their experience and your knowledge may match and it may not, but it can tell you a story.
Wow. So you were talking about, different conditions of the hair. Let's talk about curl degree. And a lot of people don't like curl degree discussion, but I am an advocate for talking about curl degree, just because people are often misled about my hair, and they think, it should have one type of conditioner or shampoo, and in actuality, it has another. So I'm curious, do you think that your routine should differ based on your degree of curl? For example, I think that I need more manageability because I have a tighter curl. And so I feel that, I need something extra. And I know that there are products out there like for 4C type hair. And for those who don't know the curl degrees, it's okay. But 4C on the scale that most people relate to is the curliest type of hair. So I'm just curious, how do you decide based on or do you decide based on the degree of curl?
You do, because based on the degree of curl, it's going to the level of moisture, the level of oil, all that's going to change with the degree of curl. Because people with straighter hair or looser curls tend to have oilier hair and oilier scalps. So if you have an oilier scalp, of course, by manipulation and brushing and combing the hair, it's going to transfer to the hair strands. So usually somebody who has 4C hair, the hair tends to be a little drier because it's tightly coiled, and you don't tend to comb or manipulate your hair as much because you don't want to shed or break the hair.
Okay.
So definitely the products would change depending on the curl degree.
Okay. Donisha, do you have experience with that?
Absolutely. I agree. The curl degree makes the difference. And then also, what concerns are you having with your hair? So in your case, you may have found a balance between one shampoo for it being straight and a different shampoo and conditioner for it being curly. But then when we take in consideration the type of style, as far as, like you mentioned, the braids, of course, we would use a different type of technique to prepare the hair for that type of style. And if the person is having excessive shedding and breakage, we would definitely prepare the hair and scalp differently with those situations as well. So the curl pattern does make a difference. And then also the condition of the hair and the scalp makes a difference as far as what we're going to use and the way we're going to use it.
Awesome. All right, I got to get it in with the locks. I know
Yes,
you've already
yes.
said it makes a difference. You know the stage that you're at.
Yeah. So yes, the stage does mean something, but I describe, or we in the lock world, and specifically for sister locks, we describe it as short, medium, long curl patterns with different depths of the curl, right? So if you have a long curl pattern, meaning the amount of space from one coil to the next vertically, you're measuring it vertically, you don't want to put anything heavy on it because it's already limp, right? It doesn't have a lot of movement. So if you're putting something, a heavy conditioner or anything heavy on it, it's going to make the locks lay limp or flat for visually. So it does depend on the curl pattern on what product you should be using and the look that you're trying to achieve as well. Do you want your locks to lay limp and flat and straight up and down, or do you want it to have a little body in it, even if you do nothing to it at all? So it does make a difference.
Okay. Now, I want to jump back to the scalp because I mentioned earlier and I mentioned frequently that I have seborrheic dermatitis. And I don't know if I've ever, no, I shouldn't say I haven't had one. I know I've had one, but I don't frequently have a scalp, what is oftentimes a scalp exfoliation or rejuvenation. How important do you think that is? I hear it a lot, particularly, if people have scalp problems. So let's talk about that a little bit. What is it and why is it needed or not?
So I describe a scalp exfoliation as like a scalp facial, the same like that you would do with your face. You wash your face every day, but you don't necessarily do a facial every day. You do that to get a deep cleanse, right? To clean your pores out. That's the same thing with the scalp. The scalp is the breeding place for your hair follicles. So you need to do a deep cleanse. So a scalp exfoliation is doing a deep cleanse to the scalp. And so I would not do that every day, but that is something that you might want to do once a week or once every 2 weeks or so.
So is it a technique or is it a particular product that you use to achieve that? So both?
Both.
Okay. All right. You know what? It's funny you say that because that brings me to a study that they were doing. They weren't talking about the scalp, but they were talking about the hair and how the cleansing technique that you use can dictate just how clean the hair gets. And so it makes sense that it would be the same for scalp, the scalp condition. So, Donisha, can you talk a little bit about the benefit?
Absolutely. So, as Dana mentioned, you don't you balance out the oil. If there's any areas that need more attention, you can apply specialty product to those areas to help improve the skin's appearance. There's a lot that can happen with the facial. The same as with the scalp. So if you're having a scalp condition or not, even if you're not experiencing excessive oiliness or seborrheic dermatitis or any of the inflammatory responses, even if you're not experiencing that, it is still beneficial to get a scalp cleansing, a deep cleansing done, because there's an oil gland that's going to secrete sebum. That's the oil is going to build up on the scalp. And then you have the environmental factors that play a part as well, where different toxins in the air and in the environment will settle on the hair and the scalp as well, along with medications that are taken, along with diet and how different individuals eat certain foods. Oily foods will create more of a buildup. Dairy can also irritate and exasperate some scalp conditions. And so going in and doing a scalp exfoliation will actually help to cleanse the scalp and renew the skin, make a healthy environment. You can help to improve the environment of the scalp, which in turns will help to improve the quality of the hair by getting the scalp exfoliations done. And again, I would definitely not, and well, it depends. It depends on the scalp condition and what's going on, if you're going to need it done more frequently than not. But in most cases, at least once a month is ideal, especially if you have a good, healthy scalp regimen and hair regimen. Getting in and getting a good exfoliation is great. But if you have more of scalp conditions or scalp concerns or hair concerns where the hair is weighed down and it has, if you're having breakage, even a scalp exfoliation will help address that as well. Because it helps to cleanse the scalp, and it'll also help to cleanse the hair and help you to strengthen those strands. So it's a good process to well, I wouldn't say a process. It's a good service to have, even if you are experiencing scalp conditions or not, to help balance out that scalp.
So is this something that should be done by a professional, or can someone do a scalp exfoliation or rejuvenation themselves? Marvelette?
I would say seek a professional. You could possibly do it yourself, but the reason I would say seek a professional because there is a method to it. So if you're doing it not, if you're not doing it properly, you can cause some harm or disrupt your scalp. Also, I was going to add that the scalp exfoliation reduces the buildup of yeast on the scalp that can cause a lot of problems as well. I did do an experiment with that, but I'm not going to say what I did because I don't want people doing this. But there is an issue. People do have a buildup of yeast on their scalps. And a scalp exfoliation does control that. So it won't cause harmful side effects.
Yeah. Whew. You're talking about yeast is, a whole nother monster. Some people are more susceptible to getting it compared to others. And sometimes even when you increase the washing or cleansing, excuse me, that was a faux pas. I didn't mean to say that because I know that you're not supposed to wash your hair. So, but when people cleanse their hair, sometimes the yeast can come back faster when you increase the frequency. So, and it doesn't happen with anybody. There have been studies that show that that isn't really thoroughly understood, which is why we need to continue to do the research and collect the data that we're doing. But yeah, it's quite fascinating. Want to talk a little bit about what I've heard people doing. Like, for example, I had someone say that a professional told them that they should not rinse off the leave-in conditioner because it helps with manageability. So if you want to keep your hair quote unquote moisturized or conditioned, that you don't have to rinse off the conditioner that is meant to be rinsed off. Have you heard that, or have you experienced that? And what are your recommendations?
I'm gonna stick with always follow the manufacturer's directions. If the manufacturer says rinse it off, then you should rinse it off. There are some conditioners though that has double duty. You can use it as a deep conditioner and you can leave it on. Unless it states that on the container, I would not do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I told the person who told me the exact same thing. I was like, if it says on the bottle to rinse it off, you need to rinse it off. A lot of times now, I am not a formulator. However, I've worked with some great ones. And one of the great ones I had on here, my dear friend, Angela Ellington. And there are some ingredients in leave or rinse out conditioners that have a tendency to irritate over time. So it's important for you to, like you were mentioning earlier, follow the recommendations, because if you leave it on all day or overnight, you can actually be inducing more problems. So you want to make sure that you take care of that. But yeah. Now, oh, go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, and it's probably a little off key. I went to a class years ago before I was a licensed instructor, and the person on stage, there was, I don't remember if you remember, I can't think of the name of it. It's a white bottle with green letters. But anyway, you put it on after relaxing. You leave it on 5 minutes. She said to dry it into the hair. And I was like, okay, that's it. That's when I went to go get my instructor's license. I thought that was just...
Dry it into the hair, Marvelette?
Yes. Leave it on and dry it into the hair. Okay. And I was like, oh my God. Like, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so all stylists are not created equal, just like all hair is not created equal. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I would always challenge even a professional if it went against the recommended usage on the bottle. Yeah. But you would think that as a consumer, you wouldn't have to worry about that. I mean, you go to get your hair done by supposedly someone you trust, and to have to follow up on what they're doing, that's just unfortunate. But we know that problems exist, like in any profession, Yeah, yeah. So there are so many shampoos and conditioners on the market. Are there any recommendations that you have to help people choose, or consider what would be right for them? And I know that that's hard without seeing the hair and putting that water on, like you said, Marvelette. But Dana, can you talk a little bit about that from your particular expertise as a loctician?
So in the lock world, you have, like I was explaining before, you got the short curl patterns, the medium and long. So it has been my experience with short curl patterns, meaning I think you guys call it 4C. Is that the type?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Typically, the shampoos are more alkaline because that it's been my experience that it is more acidic. So we recommend more alkaline shampoos. And then for someone with a long curl pattern, we recommend more acidic shampoos in my world.
I had not heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's after obviously you have graduated and your locks at a mature stage, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm not sure if people would know what alkaline means.
So obviously you want to always have a pH balance, right? We're always looking for balance. The scalps need a certain pH balance. The hair needs a certain pH balance. And so you're looking for balance. And you would find that on the shampoo when you look into the ingredients as well.
Okay. And so, in the world of chemistry, acidic is below 7 and alkaline is above 7. Yeah. So you're saying that information is on the package?
It should be.
Okay.
It should be.
Okay. Donisha, any experience with styling hair in terms of, what you would recommend in general?
Um, well, in my case, I see so many different conditions with the hair, with the scalp. Um, it's hard to say go and pick up a certain shampoo for a certain condition. I just encourage that you get to a professional to get an exam, and that way you can get a good regimen. If you're experiencing, if you want to improve the quality of your hair, um, you may need one thing or another. You may need a certain shampoo or you may need a certain conditioner. It may be both. It just really depends on the condition of your individual hair and scalp as far as what I would recommend. And then in some cases, with the consultation, there may be a scalp exam that needs to take place because your scalp may need a certain product versus the hair itself, as we talked about earlier. So my recommendation is to get to a professional and vet them, because not everyone is created equal and not all professionals have the understanding of the hair quality and scalp conditions to be able to assist. But search out someone and vet them and get a better understanding of your particular hair and scalp. That way you can have products that will help address any concerns that you could have.
Okay. Marvelette?
I agree with Donisha and Dana. I mean, there's nothing else to say. They summed it all up in a nutshell.
Yeah. It's funny because how long have I been natural now? I don't even keep count, but it's been a few years. It's been, I want to say, about 5-ish years. And I definitely use different products now than I did when my hair was straight and relaxed. I mean, and so I use more products that quote unquote weigh my hair down, meaning that, it actually coats it more to make it more manageable because it is curlier. And so my cleansing routine, I found, had to change because of, I have to get off all the buildup. And so I would not use, I would say, a more clarifying shampoo as frequently as I do now. So yeah, there are things that I've implemented that seem to work for me. Yeah. Now, let's talk about one last thing before we close, and that is I want to know your experience, because you hear people say that you have to change up your products because they change over time, or your hair doesn't respond the same. And so I want to get your take on that, because there is some information in the literature that talks about that, and it talks about the fact that they have done studies that show that it does change, or the way that the hair responds to the product can change. But I have a different philosophy on that. But I want to hear your experience, and then I'll share, my philosophy. Anybody?
Okay, so I'll start. So 2 things. Sometimes the ingredients in products change because they have to. And that can cause your hair to respond differently to it. So I'm going to say that first. Mm-hmm. Secondly, when people use certain products, they don't understand the ingredients in the products. Therefore, they don't understand how to properly cleanse their hair after using the product, or how to treat their hair. And then you have to take into consideration, what are you doing to your hair? So did the product change and stop working, or did you do something, or is your hair in a different state from where it was when you first started using the product, which causes the product to act differently on your hair? So there's a number of things to take into consideration.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. And depending on where you are, as far as your health and wellness as well. Absolutely. I know that we have more research to do to show, but your hair is connected to your body, and what you put in, it does come out into the hair. And so where you may have had a routine 2-3 years ago with a certain product. And as Marvelette mentioned, it may have been formulated a certain way. And it worked really, really well. Well, here we are 2 years later, and your lifestyle has changed. Your needs have changed. Your whole body systems have changed. And so that particular product may not respond the same. And it could be the same formulated product. However, your hair is requiring something different at this point. And so I just wanted to add that part as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree with both of them.
Awesome.
It's all about the individual, right? And what's going on with that individual's person, what's going on with their body. Definitely.
Yeah. And Donisha, it's interesting that you brought up diet, because you hear that a lot, but there isn't enough data. As you were saying, we need to continue to generate the data, but I am convinced that it is something to it, but we really need to understand it more and get it more personalized, because everyone is not the same. But yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. I am so excited that we got to come on here together, and we will continue doing this from time to time. I am excited that everyone can hear your expertise based on your experience, because I am a true advocate for wanting you to showcase your experience, because it definitely does mean something, especially in the scientific world, because you have your eyes out there and you're seeing, what's going on. And I'm not sure that there is a proper platform for you to voice what's going on so we can incorporate it in science. So thank you for being there. Thank you for being receptive. And I'm just excited that we will continue to go down this path together.
Thank you.
So, all right. Appreciate you joining and sharing your valuable information. And I just want to let you know, those of you who are watching, we, for this pre-recorded session, we are going to be looking at the comments and questions. And so please put them in the chat and we will get back to you. We love to keep the conversation going. So if you haven't already joined the Our Black Hair Matters movement group on Facebook, please do that. And if you need a vetted professional, all you need to go to is bit.ly/OBHM consult. Let me put that up there so you can see that. And you can be connected with one of these vetted team members here that you see. I am going to give you an opportunity to let people know how to reach you. So Donisha, you can go first.
Okay, my name is Donisha Sullivan. I am at Hair and Beauty Treatment Center in Augusta, Georgia. My number is 706-373-9184. And the email address, the website is www.thehbtc or the HBTC. That is www.t as in Tom, H as in Henry, E as in Echo, H as in Henry, B as in boy, T as in Tom, C as in cat.com.
Awesome. Dana, can you share how to get in touch with you?
Yes, I am Dana Wilson. I am located in Hopewell, Virginia. The best way to get in contact with me is to go to my website, which is www.haircares.com. That is the best way to find me, you guys. Haircaresinc.com.
Awesome. And Marvelette?
I am Marvelette Bailey. I'm located in Chicago, the Beverly area. My phone number is 773-629-6938. And you can email me at info@trichoscienceclinic.com. That's info, INFO, at tricho, scienceclinic.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, you guys. And for those of you who are watching and listening, always remember that our Black hair matters. And as always, take care and love your hair. Bye-bye.